Peck and others would still be able to join us who have not yet.
It's me.
Catherine is here.
Oh, I somehow missed that. Gallery, maybe. Here she is. Yay. And Mary Peck is with us too.
Chairperson, you're free to proceed.
Okay, thank you, Max. Hi, everyone. Welcome. This is December 4th, 2020. I'm calling the Environmental Committee to order at 11 a.m. We have 1 hour to get our work done for the rules of the city. As the new chair per the email that I sent you yesterday, and I hope that you all saw that and that it makes some good sense to you. And if any of you individually want to talk about that, please do that one-on-one with me sometime after the meeting or in the coming days. Either call me or text me or email me, and I'll be happy to have additional conversation with you. What I want to do is just kind of kick off things here, and then I'm going to hand it over to our new vice chair, Charlie Garlow, in the new scheme of things. And we will proceed on with the agenda. Let me just go over the list of committee members and make sure that for the record and for Catherine, who is taking minutes, that we have it down. When I say your name, just give a little wave and say, here, please. Charlie Garlow.
Here.
Heather Metz, is Heather with us?
Not yet. She's just said she's going to be joining a few minutes late.
Okay, very good. Mary Peck.
Here.
Mary Stewart Martin.
Here.
Catherine Bergwin.
Here.
Eddie Green.
Here.
Kevin Carr.
Here.
Hi, Kevin. And Janet Taylor Smith.
Here.
And myself, Dick Byrne, Commissioner, as Chair of the Environment Committee. Thank you all for joining us. We have a full agenda today. And again, if you haven't seen the email I sent you yesterday, please take a look, committee members. And if you want to talk about any of the specifics of that, if you have questions, concerns, and so on, just please reach out to me individually, and I'll be happy to respond and have a conversation. And with that, Charlie is going to moderate and lead us through the agenda today. And then starting with our January meeting, then I will play that role, although it's going to be a lot of tag team with Charlie because we have this wonderful opportunity to have both a chair and a vice chair of this committee. And the vice chair is an individual who lives about a block or so away from me and who I have tremendous respect in terms of this whole area of the environment and the things that we're concerned about in the city of Rehoboth Beach. So Charlie, take it away, please.
Very good. Just let me say in response to Commissioner Burns, Dick's comments, that I'm thrilled to have Dick be our chairperson and to be here more often. As a result, I know your busy schedule has kept you away from us several of the months that we have met. And I'm also thrilled to have all of us still on board as members. Nobody is an untouchable in the cast or anything like that. You are all wonderful people. We love you, and we're glad to have you be part of the team, regardless of whether there's a voting member versus a non-voting member. Who cares? We're all going to be here contributing together, learning, and developing good proposals for our city commissioners. So without further ado, the next item on our agenda is the approval of the minutes. Catherine Bergman has wonderfully, again, put together our minutes, and that was distributed, as I understand it, to everybody here. If anybody had a chance to look at that, yeah, great. If I could entertain a motion for approval of the minutes from someone?
I approve the minutes.
You so moved. Anybody second?
Second.
Second, you're very good. All those in favor of approving the minutes?
Charlie, I've got a couple of comments before we vote to approve.
Okay, yes, excuse me.
If I could interrupt, and thank you, Catherine, for keeping good track of things. Just a couple of comments on the minutes from the November 18th meeting of this committee. So in the future, under roll call, Susan Morrison, and Sam Cunningham are not members of the committee any longer. They both indicated voluntarily that they were choosing not to continue. Susan was having difficulty making the meetings and some other issues in her life. And Sam Cunningham was not showing up. And we need people on the committee that are willing to put in the time and show up and get involved. In the future, Catherine, I'll be on the roll call as the chair of the committee and not ex officio anymore. And that's effective immediately. Under old business, quick updates, letter B, where it says the City Planning Commission, I would, in the future, I would capitalize Planning Commission because they are a very specific entity in our city. And again, just in the future, look at the spelling of my name. It's Byrne, and I think it's misspelled in a couple of places.
Catherine, if you were muted. Catherine.
Yeah. Is it, Dick,
Yeah,
is it
I think that's it.
Byrne?
Right. Yes, thank you.
Sorry,
Charlie, that's it. Thank you.
we didn't catch that earlier. Dick, any other comments or edits for our minutes from the last month? We've got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Catherine, did you have a comment there? Were you?
I have a question. So who is going to be the person at the end of the minutes? I always list approved, the minutes approved. So minutes approved by Dick and Charlie from here on out.
Yeah, that's a good question. If you would send the draft minutes to Charlie and me at your convenience, and then Charlie and I will take a look at them, and then I will be the point person going forward that will get the minutes to our city secretary, to Ann. She keeps track of the minutes once they're approved. She keeps both an electronic copy and a paper copy. And so I will make sure that happens in an orderly way in the future. Thanks, Catherine.
Sure.
I have a question about the minutes, and I didn't see them, and I'm not sure whether Catherine, did you send them or did Charlie send them, or were they part of the agenda that was sent? I'm just not sure which email to look for.
I think that they were sent by Charlie.
Okay.
And I'd have to go back in my old, to be honest about this was a little bit unusual in that we had that meeting kind of late. And
Yeah.
then all of a sudden I realized that the minutes were due out. Did anybody else not see them? I'm pretty sure I sent them out, but I'd have to go back and look at my emails.
Okay.
Did everybody get them?
I really don't know.
I
Okay.
did.
Yeah.
Did.
All right. Normally, Mary, I have to claim that I lost my mind a little bit because of
Okay.
the rush. So
I couldn't find them in my email, and they probably are there, but I didn't know what to look for.
normally I send them out through my Gmail account, but I got a little confused during this rush.
Okay. All right.
Perhaps Catherine and I can make double sure that we've got those minutes to everybody by sending them out twice or something. Well, we've already approved the minutes. That was the most exciting discussion we've had about minutes ever. So I'm pleased to see that Heather Metz has joined us. Wow, we've got a full quorum here today. So I look at here on our agenda, we've approved the minutes. Any correspondence? I don't see that we had any correspondence, although we certainly welcome that. So if I may, we'll swing right into the order of business. I've put new business first, which is our discussion with our guest, Cindy Lovett, and old business later. So I'd like to ask Cindy Lovett to share with her wisdom, suggestions, and ideas for the future with Rehoboth in Bloom, and to say, hooray for you, Cindy. You've been a powerhouse to make Rehoboth in Bloom
Thank you.
happening. We are all very proud of the efforts that you and your volunteers have done to catch up, do an admirable job of catching up with the city of Lewis is in bloom.
Oh, gracious, that won't happen for a while. They've been at this since 2001. So, but when I started this, we had been to Lake Placid, and oh my goodness, their flowers are just spectacular up there. And I said to myself, now this was probably 8 years ago. Why can't we do it here? And at the time, Lorraine Zellers was a commissioner. So I spoke to her about it, and the city purchased 4 hanging baskets, which we tried for 2 years unsuccessfully to keep pretty, because those straw baskets are very difficult. And we had to water every day. And so there were 4 of us that were taking turns. And then when it got really hot, they needed a second watering, and it just wasn't happening. And that was just a fail. So fast forward about 3 years later, I learned about something called earth planters. And earth planters come in many shapes. They're not cheap. They're US made from recycled rubber and plastic and stuff. And what they are is they have a reservoir in them. So the rectangular ones that you see in front of the businesses have a 23-gallon reservoir. So we don't actually water the flowers, we fill the reservoirs. Then inside of it is a plastic thing that has recycled indoor-outdoor carpet in it that comes up like this, and it wicks the water from the reservoir into the soil. So this meant that we only have to water once a week. Now, according to Earth Planner, you only have to water every 15 days, but that would mean we have to completely fill them. So right now we have 6 teams. We have Baltimore, Wilmington, North and South Rehoboth Avenue, and then we have island trios that were installed last year. So they all get filled. Now, North Rehoboth Avenue is the biggest struggle because they are full sun. Interestingly, all of our north sides of our streets are full sun. South sides are a lot of shade. We also have awnings overhanging a lot of the businesses, which means when it rains, they don't get any water. So we didn't realize all these little micro environments that we had around town in these planters. So what happens is there is no water at all on the north side of Rehoboth Avenue, except at the boardwalk. Now this is all first block. At the boardwalk and at First Street, there's water. So we now have 2 teams who have carts with 5-gallon buckets that they fill, and then with milk cartons, we pour it into the reservoirs. So when I learned about these, this was like an aha moment, and I said, well, maybe we can do this. So the first thing I did was meet with Warren Goldie and Marilyn Vi of Lewis and Bloom. They were kind enough in October of 2018 to let me sit with them for an hour and a half and totally pick their brains. They were just amazing. So then February of 2019, we had our meeting up at the Pines, and 23 people came, which I was blown away. I thought if I got 6, it'd be great. So from there, we started establishing and purchased our first 20 planners from Earth Planner, and people sponsored them, which is how they got paid for. And we had 23 volunteers the first year, and we would go out on Tuesday mornings and fill the reservoirs, tend the planters, and all that kind of stuff. But we made some not great flower choices that first year. We had purple beach grass and purple potato vines, which just sucked all the water out of the planters. So it turned into a nightmare. I mean, particularly in the full sun planters. So this last year, I mean, we're going to make a mistake every year, and we're just going to learn from it. But this last year, we put in different flowers and had much, much better luck. We also added, we had 30 planters the first year. I'm sorry. We added 20 in 2020. Let me see. We added 20 planters in 2020. Yes. So we're now basically at 52 planters. The other 2 were sponsored by Walt Castle. He gave us $2,000 to buy the first 2 planters, and boy, did I learn a lot. So we had 2 planters, then 30 planters, then 20 planters. So now we're sort of starting to focus a little bit on 2021, because I don't know where the economy is going to be, and I don't want to go buying these planters, because we were very lucky in 2020 when COVID hit. We are expecting to have a fundraising oldies dance, which got canceled. So Walt Castle and Main Street picked up the bill. And as I was getting sponsors, I was able to pay them off. And the good news is they're all paid for now, thank goodness, due to sponsors, wonderful people who are sponsoring these planners. So that's kind of how it got started. And when I approached Main Street about this idea, they were immediately jumped on board and said, let's do it. What do you need? But we are 100% self-supporting through donations. We just had a fundraiser, a peer-to-peer fundraiser on Facebook, and raised just over $3,000. So we currently have the teams I described that manage the planners. We have a team over here at Grove Park. Pat Caluzzi asked if we would be willing to maintain the garden at Grove Park. And what we didn't know is that the soil there is just like crushed cinders. So unfortunately, the volunteers had to go there 3 days a week and water those plants. So that was a bit much. So what we're looking at now for future projects, we are developing a tree tender team. We have 5 volunteers. It's going to be led by Suzanne Pollin, who is currently a tree tender and a master gardener. And we're going to work with the city tree team, which has a new name. I forget what it is. But we're going to coordinate with them because, as it turns out, 2 of our volunteers from Bloom, Joan, Charlie's wife, and Elise Burns, are also on the city's tree committee. So we're going to work with them and Liz and set up a tree tender. I'm speaking to them next Friday, and we're going to try to figure out what role. Ours will be a hands-on role versus the committee. We have 5 people now who will be on that committee. So that's new for next year. So over at the farm market, we're waiting for, there's supposed to be irrigation put in as part of the water taxi. Well, the irrigation was broken when they put in the bike path, and it was never repaired. And it's going to cost a lot of money to fix, but that's purportedly going to be fixed through the the finishing up of the water taxi, which we really hope, because we're hoping to put in a pollinator garden over there, but we have to have irrigation. I can't have these people watering 3 days a week. It's too much. So we're hoping we're going to get the irrigation repaired so that right by the little house over there in the farm market garden, or in the farm market, that right in front of that, we want to do a pollinator garden. So one of my biggest roles is to keep the wheels from coming off of Rehoboth and Bloom. So we were hoping to do this big swath of gardens, and then we got realistic and said, well, let's start with a smaller pollinator garden, get our feet under us, learn what works and what doesn't. So we're hoping that that's going to be a new garden. Also, Matt Gaffney was on South Rehoboth Avenue as a lead. He now has worked very hard. We've got approval from Liz, approval from the city. So on Rehoboth Avenue, we're the farthest, where you turn around, like here's the bathrooms right there. There's a garden there that has never been overly taken care of. And Matt's going to put a perennial garden in there. So the money we raised so far will pay for all the flowers and the fertilizer and Matt's garden. So the other thing I'm working on, and I'm struggling a little bit here, we're hoping to buy some native spring bulbs to put in the city's wooded parks. And every year we would like to spend maybe $500 to buy flowering things to put in where the wooded parks are. We were hoping to do daffodils. I mean, that was the plan. But Liz said that they want to keep it native in those gardens. And that's cool. I can deal with that. So that's our 4 major projects. We also have things unlimited number of places that we would love to do a garden, but we learned from the farm market garden, we have got to have irrigation. If we don't have irrigation, we can't do a garden. Lewis and Bloom does have irrigation in all of their gardens. So like right across from Starbucks, or right next to Starbucks there, that's just a giant mess of weeds and stuff. We'd love to do that. The median across from City Hall could use some sprucing up, but irrigation is the biggest struggle and really the most expensive part of it. So that's why we're doing fundraisers. Now, the plan when we bought the planters in 2020 was we were going to have an oldies dance in May. and we sold $1,000 worth of tickets in the first 3 weeks of promoting it. Then COVID hit, shut down. We kept rescheduling. We took it to September, we took it to November, and of course, ultimately had to cancel it. So I've identified a spot, but I haven't gotten approval yet, where it would be outside under cover, that we might be able to go ahead in May and have the dance, where we'd have a DJ and all that kind of stuff. So I think it would be a huge moneymaker, and I'd like to be able to get us some irrigation possible in different places around town that, we'll see how much money we wind up with. So anyway, that's the background of where we're at right now. Does anyone have questions? I mean, I'm not exactly sure how
Before
we
we
can
go
tie
to
in with
questions,
your.
do you want to show us your video? Maybe that'll
Yes,
answer some of the
please.
questions.
That's a great idea.
Max Hanby, can you help us with that video? We're ready.
Oop, is he there? Oh, there
Here
it
he
goes.
Hi, I'm Cindy Lovett, founder of Rehoboth in Bloom, a project of Rehoboth Beach Main Street here in coastal Delaware. Our goal at Rehoboth in Bloom is to foster a community spirit while working to beautify downtown Rehoboth Beach. Since our founding in 2019, we've purchased and installed more than 50 flower planters along our downtown sidewalks, tended to weekly by a dedicated team of 42 volunteers. For 2021, we're branching out with 4 new beautification projects.
That's
A new
Matt's
garden along Rehoboth Avenue, a pollinator garden at the farm market, a tree tender team, and planting spring bulbs in our woodland parks. To make these projects a reality, we need to raise $15,000. As a nonprofit organization, we rely completely on the support of our friends. Your contribution to Rehoboth Beach Main Street will help Rehoboth in Bloom make our downtown a beautiful place. Can you make a donation today? Thank you, and come and see us at the beach.
Very cool, Cindy. Wish we had a video like that for us in the Environment Committee, maybe.
Yes, well, make it. You know what? Matt helped me make it with iMovie. Matt's been fantastic. He really has. So they're very easy to make, and you can do something like that just to show people what you're about. But the other thing I want to point out is, of our 42 volunteers, only about 10 live downtown. All the rest, we have about 8 people that drive in every week from Sawgrass. We have people from all of our, I call them our nearby neighbors. And that's what makes up a very good portion of our volunteers. So I'd love to have more downtown people get involved.
Thank you. Questions from people? Catherine, go ahead. You're muted. Take yourself off of mute. There you go.
Hi, Cindy. Thank
Hi.
you very much. Just for the note's sake, I want to be sure that I'm clear on the 4 projects. So
Okay.
you have the tree tender
Yep.
committee working with the city. You have Matt doing the perennial gardens.
Yep.
You have all of the planter boxes.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think you had said that you were hoping, in the video it said, but you corrected that you were hoping to plant spring bulbs in the parks. Is that where
The city's parks that are treed, not like Grove Park, the one on Columbia, and I think that goes through to what? Sussex Street, what is that? So there's a couple of parks that are all trees.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Okay. And not, but Liz is hoping that we'll do native. bulbs.
I was going to do daffodils, but Liz said they want to keep it native, which I totally get, but I'm struggling to find bulbs right now, native
I
bulbs.
don't think that bulbs are native.
Yes,
Heather?
there are many native bulbs.
Okay.
Yes. I can't remember the names of them right now. But yes, and I've been in contact with Liz and Peppers. By the way, Peppers Greenhouse has been so good to us. It's amazing. But the other projects are a pollinator garden at Grove Park.
Right. Got that. Mhm.
And let's see.
The
this
perennial
native-
garden. Matt's perennial garden.
Matt's perennial garden. So there should be, if you're including the planters, that's 5 projects.
So where's the 4th one? The
Tree tenders, perennial pollinator garden, perennial garden from Matt, and planting spring bulbs in the parks, and then the planters.
And the pollinator garden is at Grove Park.
Yes.
Gotcha.
And we're hoping to expand out on that each year, but we've got to get irrigation in there. We can't have our people watering 3 times a week. Oh my God.
Gosh. Thank you.
Other questions? Oh, there's Nettie. Go ahead. And Mary.
Cindy, I loved your video. That's fantastic. Thank you.
God.
And thank you for being with us. Something that I've used, I don't know whether you're familiar with this, but it's a snip and drip system from Gardener Supply, which is a Vermont company. And my daughter lives in Vermont, and this has worked very well because irrigation is a super problem
Yes.
down here, and with raised beds, because the water just goes through.
I never heard of
And
that.
and it's really neat. It's almost like putting together Tinker Toys.
Oh, darn.
You have these little joints that you hook together, and it's like a soaker hose that you can just snip and make as long and as coiled as you want all over your raised bed. It saves water.
Wow.
Because it has a stopper at the end,
Mhm.
and you just turn it on. I mean, you can turn it on for hours, and
Amazing.
and I guess you could even have an automatic somehow. That would be more money, I guess. But
Well,
you know,
actually, what we were actually for Matt's garden, which I call the turnaround garden. We were looking at, he was getting prices on irrigation, and it's very pricey. And then there is a spigot right there, which in most of the islands up and down Rehoboth Avenue, there is a spigot in almost every one. But Liz said, why don't you just use a drip hose with a timer? So
Yeah.
we can actually put a timer on the drip hose,
Mhm.
make it water daily or
Right.
whatever we need. And so that took the cost from something like $2,500 down to, like 200 or something. So, but I will check into snip and drip, most definitely.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Gardener Supply.
Gardener
And,
Supply.
yeah. And there's even grant money, interestingly enough. My daughter it didn't work out as a job for her, but she used to work with this group called Kids Gardening. And it was with Gardener Supply. It's kind of a separate thing from them, but they sponsor it, and you can write up a grant because
Okay.
Rehoboth has something to do with kids too.
Yeah.
And you might even be able to get some grant money from
Okay.
this kids
Always
garden.
looking for grants.
Yeah.
Now, one of the problems, we can't have any children because one of the big things that Main Street provides for us is our insurance. Lewis and Bloom pays for their own. We're covered under Main Street. Also, they provide us with the 501c3, which is, I don't want to have to do that.
Sure.
And we cannot have anyone under 18 as a volunteer. So that kind of creates, we can't have any children helping us because our insurance will cover that.
Well, this group it's called Kids Gardening, but they actually have given grants to elderly people.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
we're all elderly,
yeah.
all of us. Okay, I will look into that.
Check it out. They're good people to work with, and it's just a soaker hose that hooks
Wonderful.
on to other hoses.
Sounds
Fun.
great.
Yeah.
I will absolutely check into that. Thank you.
Great, sure.
Mary Peck.
Yes, I wanted to talk about irrigation too, and some of what I wanted to ask has already been answered. And I was going to say that I'm just installing some landscaping in my property, and I was trying to minimize the need for irrigation. And they said, the drip hose was the way to go. And also, if you're careful about your plant selection, that after they become established, that they won't need as much water.
Right.
And so,
Yep.
If you're thinking about using natives,
Yes.
in particular, that would, that,
Yes.
I guess obviously you want to get like the more low maintenance kind of plants.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Well, they've got, we're so lucky that we have a couple of master gardeners in our group, and also multiple people that we can use as resources. But one of the biggest problems over at Grove Park, like I said, is the soil. It is just horrible. We didn't realize till we went to plant. And as soon as I dug in, I went, oh my God, I can't believe this. So we're going to actually have to have that soil dug out and get there's, Joan knows the name of it. It's a loamy plant stuff that I mean, the gardening is not my thing. My thing is really more the organizing in that. And that's why I lean heavily on our real gardeners in our group. But we've got to take the soil out and get better soil in there, or nothing will survive. But yes, we are absolutely going to go with native. And we would like to do a drip hose there if we could, but there's no water in the right place for us to do that. So if you're looking at the garden where we're going to put it, there's a asphalt walkway there, and the water's on the other side. So we can't run a hose across the walkway, and there's no other water excess on our side. So we're hoping that apparently when they broke that irrigation, when they put in the bike path, it's going to cost about $8,000 to fix. So the money, Liz said, is factored into the water taxi park thing here, but whether it's actually going to happen is not 100% sure. So we're hoping so much because we really want to do that garden.
Mary Peck is connected with the Delaware Nature Society as well, and
Wonderful.
lots of gardening experience. Are you a master gardener? I forget, Mary.
No, I'm not a master gardener, but I've been in the process of trying to find out who in Sussex County has this kind of knowledge, and there aren't that many, and it's not that easy to source certain plants. But I'm sure you found that, Cindy. You were saying you're trying to find the bulbs and you haven't found the bulbs, but
yeah, well, only because two reasons. One is got a little late start, but also because of COVID, so many people were planting this year that normally don't, so they ran out way earlier than normal. So worst case scenario is this might not happen until next year, but I'm hoping I could locate at least something to get them in. So in fact, that's my project for this afternoon. So, yeah.
Mary and Cindy, you're probably aware of an outstanding resource, and that is the Sussex County Cooperative Extension Service in Georgetown. It comes out of the University of Delaware.
Yep.
And you can access, via the web or phone calls.
Correct.
And just an amazing amount of literature on the web. There's also individuals that'll be happy to consult, to talk for no cost.
Wonderful.
I mean, we're paying for that.
Yep.
Service,
really?
As taxpayers.
I think they do
taxpayers.
some soil testing, don't they?
They do.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Wonderful. Well, nobody has to test the soil for us to know that it's not going to work.
Yeah, I have the same problem with my property. It's not good at all. It's yeah.
But my property is more sand. In fact, we're actually removing all the grass, and we're going to have a mulch bed put in with little rocks, and then we're just going to do some native plants in the front because I can't grow grass, and I'm tired of having it look so horrible. But my soil here, and I live right across from Grove Park, is totally different than the soil at Grove Park. Mine is sand, theirs is gravel. So I don't quite understand that, but both of them are terrible. So
sometimes I wonder whether there was a landfill there at one time because of the cliff and everything, but I don't know.
The cliff?
The cliff along the canal.
Oh, well, the canal was dug, over 100 years ago. That wasn't there. That was actually, my husband likes to say that when they put the canal in, they turned Rehoboth into an island. That used to be flat land. There wasn't a canal there until 100 years ago.
Right.
So that's what the cliff is it's all sand. I mean, this part here at some point was underwater. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, but when you walk around Grove Park and along past the cemetery, it's like so much trash and junk, and it just looks like it was a dumping ground at one point to me.
Well, it was a trailer park for until the mid-60s, I think.
Is that right?
Trailers got removed and it got turned into a park, which bless the people that made that happen, because we're really lucky to have a lot of parks in this town.
Yeah.
Other questions for Cindy?
I have.
Yeah, Cindy, one of the things that has come up, and I know there's some work going on, but maybe you're able to explain some of the detail, and that is the triangle area on the entrance and exit to 1B in and out of the city of Rehoboth Beach. Now, we know that that's DelDOT property, but we also are aware that there are some plans being made
right
for that. And this committee has talked about is that an opportunity for some of the members of this committee to get involved and be helpful with?
Okay, well, so when I was on Streets and Transportation Committee for 8 years before I left and joined Main Street. And we actually had Spazzato do some wonderful drawings of what could be done over there. Now, I would love to do a garden there. Big problem, there's no water. Either water would have to be installed or trucked over or something like that. Now, I did notice that when I was over at the municipal building over there, the garage, there is a water tank over there. It looks like a water tank anyway. It's a huge white plastic thing that would be put on a truck. Now, Bloom can't do anything over there without water. I can actually send you what Spazzato did. I still have that. Real nice drawing, and they had like this cool flagpole with like the things that you put on a sailboat, those little flags and stuff. It was really neat. I would love to do something like that there, but again, you have to have water.
Cindy, have you noticed, I'm sure you have, as you go into Dewey, coming from Rehoboth,
Okay.
those center island gardens
Yes.
that they have,
Yep.
it doesn't appear to me that there's a water source for those plants. Now there may be, and it's not visible, but
Yep.
but it appears to me that they've done some very selective planting,
Very nice. Yep.
with plants that seem
Right.
to survive.
Yep. They might
without
have a water
external.
truck, Dick. They might have a water truck that goes out. I
They
mean,
may.
plants can't survive here in the summer without water. We easily get 10, 12 days with no rain. So somehow they're getting watered. And by the way, Lewis and Bloom has a water truck that, well, they actually use Warren Goldie's truck, and they put the tank on it. And then the volunteers had watered. And for this last year, the city was going to take over the watering for them, but then COVID hit, and they're 80% funded by the city over in Lewis and Bloom. And that's why they reached out for this big fundraiser, because they had no baskets this year. Anything that involved watering, there were no flowers on the bridge. Anything that the water truck would have done, they didn't do this year. Where that's one of the differences. We are 100% donations. The city doesn't contribute anything other than cooperation, which, boy, we really appreciate. But as far as that particular garden, Liz had told me that she and Katie Downs were working on a plan for that triangle over there.
Right.
But I'm assuming due to COVID, it's been put on hold because of the funding. So I'm really not sure where that goes. But I mean, I don't have a truck. Main Street's not buying a truck. And so I don't know how that would work. And when the city gets busy in the summer, they just don't have the staff to keep stuff watered. We just don't have the people. So I can't rely on that as a source.
Nettie Green, you got a question?
How about, Cindy, just native grasses, the big bushy grasses and yucca? I mean, in my yard, they seem to grow in gross soil. And they grow in any kind of weather, and I don't have to water them. They just grow.
Yeah, you mean in the triangle, Nettie?
Yeah.
I mean, that would be great. But like I said, Liz is purportedly on this project. I mean, the grass has to be removed. I don't know what all needs to be done, but she and Katie apparently have a plan, but they're waiting for the money at this point. I would love to be involved or help, but if Spazzato is going to come in and do it, see, that's the one thing, that anything that Spazzato does, we can't help because they come in and they do it. Now we can go back. In fact, that's what we're hoping over at Grove Park. If that irrigation gets replaced, we can then put perennial or annuals for color in various places over there. And our volunteers are willing to tend that. But again, we need irrigation because of the soil.
Cindy, I will follow up after today with
Okay.
Liz Lingo and Katie
Sure.
Downs.
Yep.
And
Cindy, this is Kevin
see where
Carr.
they're.
Hello, Kevin.
Yes, have you thought of using 55-gallon drums and, collecting it off roofs or gutters?
Moving it around. All of our volunteers are like 60 and over. And
No, not moving it around. Just putting a 55-gallon plastic drum.
Okay.
Off of a gutter.
Yes.
Off of a leader.
Okay.
You know, it's a local, and then you could put on a snip and drip and display it that way.
So you mean in that garden, use rain barrels there in that triangle?
Rain barrels, yes.
Oh, I mean, that's certainly an option, and that I can mention to Liz. But again, when we get those 10 to 12 day stretches that we don't have water, it doesn't take long for plants to die.
Yes, but what happens is you know, I have them on my house, and they
Okay.
fill up pretty quickly,
Right,
and they last for quite a while.
right. But over there in that triangle, there's no roof there.
Yeah,
for
you
the
need to have some way to fill it. That's
Right.
true.
I mean, it would just be whatever rain you get would fill the whatever winds up in the barrel. There's no way to
You would
get it
have
off
to
the
have a
roof.
leader.
It wouldn't be
A
enough.
leader off of
Yeah.
some kind of a roof.
Right.
It's just the one or two that you may be able to get places where you can get water.
It's possible, but that's a pretty big space and would require a good amount of water. But some native beach grasses would be a start. But again, I know Liz is on this,
Yep.
but I don't know where it stands.
Okay.
If I had my way, I would like to see wherever there's grass planted that we encourage, if not mandate, that the grass be replaced by native plants that'll help the
Absolutely.
pollinators, because
Yep.
our pollinators worldwide are
Yep.
getting a beating,
Yep.
and we need to do everything we can to help them out. That's my
Yep.
vision
Yep.
or goal, if you will.
Yes.
And I don't know whether I'm biting off more than we can chew, but if we can start one step at a time, one little patch of grass, if not at
Mhm.
that triangle there south of town, there are lots of other little spots around town where
Oh,
there's
sure.
plants growing for no good
Absolutely.
reason. And it
Yep.
means that we have to spend more labor money and more gasoline and mowers and all
Mhm.
sorts of stuff. It's
Sure.
bad, bad, bad all the way
Yep.
around.
Yep.
Grass,
Yeah.
ugh.
I
Get
know.
rid
Well,
of it.
I would love to do a pollinator garden in my front yard, but the problem is I'm allergic to bees. So
Yeah.
the last thing I want is a yard full of bees at this point.
Charlie is absolutely right about the pollinator and the green tactic. Like Kevin mentioned, the rain barrels are an excellent where you can use them. I'm a gardener, so I know the challenges that you're facing.
Yep.
And the other thing that you're facing is our climate. You know,
Yes. Oh,
it's
hot.
getting hotter,
Yep.
and then your watering becomes
Exactly.
more of an issue.
Right.
It's also in areas I found that moss is starting to grow because we never had it like this before. I've lived in the area of Rehoboth for 20 years, and it's actually starting to grow in the sunlight, and that will take out grass.
Mm-hmm.
But it's okay. And the thing is, it's not okay. But the problem is that we're trying to encourage people to not plant grass, to
Mhm.
take areas at a time and make them as sustainable as they can
Mhm.
be with
Mhm.
planting things. And the resources that we are incurring just trying to keep our lawns green.
Absolutely.
It's ridiculous.
I
So,
know.
um,
And that's
little
why
by
I got
little- yeah,
fed up.
little by little, we've left our
Yep.
grass and planted other things, and we too are finding what works and what doesn't.
Yep.
I've also been in charge of a lot of volunteers where I volunteer at Epworth, and we've been trying to get things that are more self-sufficient because
Mhm.
our volunteers are older too. And when they need the most water, our volunteers are like, but it's 95 degrees out.
I know. I know.
So
That's
I
it.
understand your challenges, and I wanted to personally thank you for everything you're doing.
Oh, thank you. I love it so much. And were it not for these earth planners, I wouldn't be doing this because they really allow us to attend once a week
Mhm.
to the planners. And boy, I don't know if you saw them this year, but we had trailing vincas that just were absolutely knocked our socks off. They were just so full. We tried petunias the first year, which they were fine until they weren't. In fact, Warren Goldie at Lewis and Bloom said they won't use petunias anymore. He said our weather's getting too hot. Isn't
Mhm.
that amazing that you can't
It
even
is.
grow petunias? So, but these trailing vincas, where petunias in the middle, as you know, as they later in the season, they get kind of dead and not pleasant. But these trailing vincas just stayed spectacular through the entire summer.
One thing about our weather, it's like kind of good news and bad news, but the trend is that it's going to be a lot wetter, and I already see that. Like my lawn up in Newcastle County, for the first time in 23 years, it did not turn brown in August because we had so much rain this year.
Yep.
And that's definitely DNREC is saying, that it's measurable already increase in rainfall due to climate change, and the storms are going to be, the pattern is that they sort of sit and park, for days. You'll have like days of rain. And so really, it's kind of ironic that we still have to figure out, irrigation, but I guess there might be those days that we do, but really more the big concern in Rehoboth is flooding. And so I don't know whether maybe we won't even need to irrigate anymore. It'll be interesting to see.
Well, you still, like I said, you get those stretches without rain, and it's just, and then when it gets hot and it's not raining, plants just can't survive. They just can't.
Right.
I often wonder, I mean, if we can pipe oil from Canada to Texas, why can't we pipe water from Delaware out to California where they need it?
Yeah.
We seem to have excess and they don't have enough.
That's right.
The problem is that you have extremes. You have that
that's
really hot climate, and then you have these rains with torrential rain. You have to find something that will sustain both of them, and that's kind of hard to do.
Exactly. And tonight we're supposed to get 2 inches of rain, so it's like it's craziness.
This has been a wonderful conversation. I bet we could go on for another hour and a half.
We probably could, and we're using up all your time, and there is a lot to talk about. And I thank you guys. We are looking for some more volunteers. So keep us in mind, and thank you very much. And if you have any questions later, if anybody thinks of anything, please contact me. My email is info, I-N-F-O, @ P like Paul, D like David, LOVETT.com.
And or you can send things to me and I'll pass it on to.
Either way, feel free to just contact me. It's fine. This is what I do. This is my passion. If anybody wants a shirt, we sell these.
Well, we want to consult with you again some more, Cindy, as time goes by. I'm hoping that our committee will get a chance to visit with Liz Lingo and others who are players in the business of keeping Rehoboth looking great and also being pollinator friendly.
Great.
So anytime we're having a meeting, you're welcome to chime in.
Oh, gracious. Well,
as a citizen of just a participant, anybody is allowed to come to our meeting.
I've said it all.
I doubt it.
All right. Well, thank you guys for inviting me.
Very good.
Thank you, Cindy.
Thank you. I'm going to try and figure out how to sign out.
One other question for Mary and maybe others, and that's about pesticides. And should that be part of our proposal as to curb or ban or anything, some of the pesticides that may be used on city property, like Roundup or other sorts of things, or should that not be part of any proposal we make? Your thoughts?
Well, Heather, I know you had actually said some preliminary discussions, but I think it's definitely something we might want to talk about and find out what are the practices of the city and see if we can, if anybody has enough knowledge to review how we can use less of that sort of thing. It's always best to minimize pesticides, of course. So Heather, didn't you try to talk to some staff about getting the information about what chemicals the city uses?
Yeah, it's been a while since, can you guys hear me? I unmuted myself.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes.
Yeah, it's been a while since we talked about that, but I think we had some guidelines that we got from some other communities that were pretty useful, and I can take those back out. I think the city did give us some communication that their pesticide use was pretty minimal, so that was good news, but there weren't really any guidelines, so I think it would be great to have some guidelines. I can take that back up.
Yeah.
Great. Well, in the few minutes remaining, I want to make sure that we get a chance for Commissioner Byrne to hold forth on any other additional comments on the new arrangement of personnel. But before we do that, if I may, I was hoping that we might ask Stuart to see if we can't get the single-use plastics across the finish line and get that proposal to our Board of Commissioners. And as I recall, the place we left things last time was that we were going to limit our request just to plastic straws, and of it coupled with a educational campaign with little tents on the table saying, we're trying to reduce pollution into the environment. This is great to have your participation. It would be straws by request only. So the two prongs of the straws part is a ban on plastics and straws only, which should reduce the total amount of, we hope, trash and get rid of the plastic straws, at least from in-town merchants. A lot of people will go out to Route 1 and get stuff and throw it on our streets. But Stuart, you're sort of our point person for that. What do you think?
I need some help. I'd really like to have some input from our committee here for a couple reasons. So January 1st, apparently the governor is going to, the ban is going into effect on bags because we're seeing the grocery stores already getting ready to sell reusable bags, and they're getting ready to run out of their plastic bags. So I think that is a really wonderful outcome for Sussex County and for the state of Delaware in the short term. It is by no means a finish line. And Charlie, there's nobody who wants to get across the finish line with this plastics more than I do, or anybody else on this committee, I'm sure. But Carol has been unwilling to meet with us from the chamber because of the fact so many businesses are in such bad shape, and as she has said, and as Dick even said last month, probably won't survive. That being said, and with the vaccine within 30 days away to start, I'm just going to wonder out loud and ask the question, and I really want your input, is should we wait till next month? Because in a month, we are probably going to have a vaccine schedule for Delaware. Based on my information, I do some health coaching for the Department of Public Health. They're going to have a lineup of who gets it, and they'll have a rough idea of when. But the when part is they do not know that yet because they're still doing these final things. Trump is trying to rush it because he wants the credit, but it is still going to be left up to other organizations when Trump is out of who gets it, how fast they get it, and all those other kinds of things. So it is probably going to be mid-year before we have enough folks in Delaware that will have access to and have been vaccinated and have both doses, depending on the companies doing it. That being said, we were talking last month about recommending just the plastic straws as just something to get something across the finish line. Is that just a really nutty idea? And should we go back to, let's do this, do it right, do it whole hog, and get Carol and the chamber behind us, and maybe be able to set up a meeting with them for the first quarter of 2021 and try to do the entire ban?
Let me ask Commissioner Byrne, what do you think, Dick? Should we push ahead on this now, or suggest a compliance date that's not for 4 or 5 months, or what?
Well, I could probably personally argue both sides of this, to go with the plastics early on and hold off for a while and then try to really move it ahead. I think there's some advantages to doing what Stuart said for the reasons that he has articulated here. I think are very good reasons. And then with the January 1 plastic bag ban, there will then be some history. There will be some people getting kind of used to it, so to speak. It'll go through whatever little turmoils it may go through. And I think that's to our advantage. I don't mean advantage environmentally. I mean to our committee's kind of a political will advantage in terms of working with the chamber and Main Street. And, at one time, like we said a month ago, we had the chamber support, we had Main Street extreme support we had SOLA 3 and the Rehoboth Beach Homeowners Association. And then COVID hit, and it kind of has done what it's done. So I think there's some real advantage to doing what Stuart is suggesting here. There is, as I dug a little bit more in this, let me just add, Charlie, and I'm watching the clock, that we're not going to get through everything that we wanted to get through today again. But there is a format that, as I've worked with our new mayor, that he is suggesting that committees use to kind of put a presentation together to bring to a commissioner's workshop. And so what I will do is share this format with you. It's not required. It doesn't have to be followed to the T. It just is it's really just a guide for bringing something forward for the commissioners to discuss. So I will share that with you, but I think, this makes sense to do what Stuart is suggesting, but I certainly want to hear from others on the committee.
Other thoughts? Nettie's got her hand. Go, Nettie, unmute yourself.
Yeah, I agree with you, Stuart. I mean, I think, of course, I see both sides too, but other people have tried the straw thing. I mean, that's been tried. These special ed kids from Rehoboth Elementary did this. So I think people would not really see that as any big deal. Whereas including clamshells and plastic bags and so on, I think maybe better to wait and really do it in a significant way, might be a little more powerful. That's just my feeling.
Can't hear.
So for Catherine's minutes, et cetera, Stuart's proposals now is to say it again, Stuart.
Well, the proposal as it was last month was we were recommending eliminating plastic straws in favor of compostable products. We were recommending food establishments put tabletop signs on tables, educating the public about the benefit to our ocean, our most precious resource, and our marine life of not using plastic straws. Studies show such signs may eliminate up to 80% use of straws in total, thereby reducing costs for our restaurant establishments. And as you recall, this was the only thing that actually reduces the cost of businesses, helping them maybe survive, but they have to do a little work to put tabletops out. It went on to say recycling is definitely not the answer, as many are starting to realize the increased cost of the public of recycling, meaning DelDOT, the ineffectiveness of it, and the hoax fed to citizens by the oil and gas industries. And I cited an NPR report that it's just a hoax put on us, and it's costing us.
Stuart, let me stop you right there, if I may. You're preaching to the choir, man.
I know.
Can you just
what's the new proposal?
So that was the proposal. The other proposal would go back to the old proposal of including the straws, clamshells, plastic clamshells, styrofoam clamshells, and styrofoam cups, and plastic cups.
But do it all at a later date, is what you're saying.
Well, in our original, this proposal was for May 1. So of course, here again, in a month, in 30 days, we're probably going to know a lot more. But it would probably be, the proposal would probably be to execute it. Maybe if we went whole hog, it'd probably have to be January of 2022, or ease into it.
You want to send to Catherine any of the language you just had? I bet that would help her. Catherine, did you have your hand up?
Yeah. So yes, if you could send. So it sounds like what you're proposing, Stuart, is our original proposal, and then getting it done, everything done in May. Actually, what we were supposed to do from the last meeting, and maybe I'm sorry that you didn't get it, we were just going to write something up and propose it to the Board of Commissioners, because they are the ones that we thought would decide when we should do all this. So my suggestion would be, let's go ahead and write up the big giant proposal and propose it to the commissioners, and let the commissioners then decide when to have it go through.
Dick, you've got to tell us what the effect is that going to have on the chamber?
Yeah, I go back to how you started your comments a little bit ago, Stuart,
this had a line through it.
Oh. Why?
Someone is speaking who's not recognized yet.
Okay.
and we are probably about out of time here.
Go ahead, Dick.
Okay.
I think we need to be as specific as we can going forward to the commissioners.
Everything else seems to be fine.
I would not ask the commissioners to set the timeline. I think we should do what Stuart was suggesting, and that is in the months of December, January, develop this proposal, utilize the format that I'm going to send to Stuart and Charlie as best as it fits this, bring it then forward to a commissioner's workshop. This is going to take several months of discussion, but from the commissioners. I mean, the 5G, for example, is still being talked about. There's not yet any conclusion from the city. That's going to be on the agenda again for the workshop on this next Monday, December 7th. So these things really just move along. One could say at a snail's pace, but that's the way a democracy works. It's messy, it's slow, and that's how we finally get some things done.
So I'm confused, Dick, because I don't know that's any different than what I said, is that we put the proposal together, we give it to the commissioners, and then some date is established, or you prefer us to put a date on that proposal?
Yeah, I think
okay.
I prefer that you put a date, but that I think that's a smaller part of it. I really think, given the things that Stuart talked about, you know, buying some time for the state to get into this January 1, for the vaccinations to roll out, et cetera.
Well, they're still going, but a little bit.
Things start to look better in the downtown economy.
Everything seemed to be, was set for the right setting. It had,
I didn't touch it.
except,
and some competition.
even when I changed that back.
Yourself on mute, Max. Go ahead, Dick.
Yeah, we're hearing Max.
See? And it,
so I will send that format to Stuart and Charlie before the end of today.
Okay.
No,
and, I think you could work at it, see if it makes sense, and then we bring it back to a January meeting. And what I want to say, because we've got to shut it down here, is we don't have a date yet for the January meeting because our normal date is the holiday. I have looked.
I wasn't even speaking.
And almost every Friday of January is already spoken for. It's possible we could end up on either January 22nd or 29th. And I'm not going to know until the Planning Commission meets next week, because they have first dibs on those two dates, simply because they do, and they're holding those for some public hearings. So I will be in touch in terms of a January date, but it's going to be definitely in the last half of January. After January, we will go back to our first Friday at 11 a.m.
Perhaps we can hold it on a day other than a Friday, is what Mary was saying. We'll work on that and get back to you as to what the next date is. I see that we're out of time, and I hear others in the background mumbling at us. So perhaps we should ask for a motion to adjourn. And there's one, and there's a second. Yes, and therefore all those in favor say aye to adjourn.
Aye.
So be it. We have adjourned, and love you guys, and we'll look forward to seeing you someday in January. What it is.
Happy holidays. And if any of you want to talk individually about going forward with things, please reach out to me. Nettie, thank you for your comments earlier this morning.
This was just another wonderful meeting. Always look forward to these meetings.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.